guys, I'm so excited about today's video. It's going to be a little bit different than what we're used to doing around here. I get a lot of questions about my grills and about grilling, and one of the questions that I get more than anything else is if I could only have one grill, which one would it be? And today I'm going to answer that question, and I'm not going to do it with a bunch of editing and a bunch of stuff that you're used to seeing around here. We're just going to have a conversation as if we're sitting at dinner and you had asked me that question. So I think that's going to be fun. I hope you guys like it. If you have any follow-up questions, just let me know below. And if this ends up being broken down into parts that I can identify, like if they have, well, I'm having a hard time saying this. I will put links in the comments below based on the topics covered, if it looks like that'll make sense. More than what I just said makes sense. Anyways, so usually the question I get asked is like I said, more than anything else, and particularly a lot right now as we're heading through the spring into the summer, is if I could only have one grill, which one would it be? And it's a very, very good question. And by the nature of the question, it eliminates several options. If you can only have one grill, it needs to be versatile, okay? So that's the most important thing. If you only have space or money for one grill, you have to have something that can do everything, which lends itself to Kamados, which are, the best thing about a Kamado is it does everything well. It may not be the best at anything, but it does everything well. So that's why it might surprise you to find out that my #1 recommendation for most people, because most people are hobbyists and they treat their grills as tools and not the hobby in and of itself. Well, maybe I didn't explain that very well. Most people aren't die-hard grillers, especially when it comes to charcoal. They just want something that will do the job well and give them the best bang for the buck. And for that, without a doubt, in my mind, the best option you have right now is the 26-inch Weber Kettle. It's big, it's versatile. There's not a brisket big enough that won't fit on there. You can, it's over 500 square inches of direct grilling space. For most people, that's the best choice. And in the past, the big reason to bump up was because you couldn't get the same high temperatures for grilling, and it was a little bit more difficult to maintain low and slow temps. But recently, in the last couple of years, Adrenaline Barbecue Company has come out with a Slow N Sear, which, full disclosure, I do some video work for them, but they didn't ask me to say this. In fact, Dave is probably, the owner of the company, is probably crapping a brick right now because he's not expecting this. But for me personally, it's the best setup for the average griller who's not wanting to spend a ton of money. The food is amazing. Don't let anyone tell you that a Kamado makes better food. Now, it's somewhat different, and we can talk about that at some point. But it doesn't taste the same. But the kettle. If you can cook on a kettle, you can cook on anything. So don't let anyone tell you any different. But if you can only have one, and if you have the funds and the desire, and it's just something you wanna spend your money on, a Kamado is a very, very logical single grill choice for most families. One of my favorites, I'm gonna do this in third place, second place, first place, and then we'll talk about some other stuff. But the Big Green Egg XL is my third place vote, and that's don't confuse that with being a last place vote, because my last place votes aren't even on this list. I think if the Big Green Egg XL is one of the best grills you can get for the money, except for the two that I'm going to say after this, and you can probably predict where this is going, but it's the name brand in Kamado grilling. The extra large 24-inch size is perfect for briskets and spare ribs and for families who like to entertain. It holds temperatures amazingly well. Everybody has heard of what the Big Green Egg is. You don't have to explain what it is. Even if people don't know the specifics, they've heard of it. Excuse me, I dropped my lid. It is absolutely a fantastic product. The only reason I wouldn't recommend it over what my next choice is, which is the Kamado Joe, is sometimes in business, and I know this is crazy, but I'm gonna do this. In business, when a company has a stranglehold on the market, like Big Green Egg did for 40 years, where they were the only game in town, they have a tendency to get complacent, and they don't make improvements even when they should, until they get pushed, and even then they have a tendency not to move as fast as other companies. So then this doesn't make them a bad company, and there's nothing. I'm not saying anything immoral is happening. I'm just saying what happens in every business, and in every line of work, is when you're the big dog, it's called customer goodwill. Like the fact that people know your name and know your reputation is worth something, and you can squeeze that a little bit and not evolve fast enough, not make changes fast enough, like do little pushes on either your supply chain or your customers, and you know that they'll go ahead and still be your customer. And the upside of that is they can be more profitable, they can charge a little bit more, they can squeeze a little bit more money out. But the downside of that is you risk losing customers. And my experience with Big Green Egg happened to fall in such a way where I became disillusioned a little bit with Big Green Egg, because here's what happened. I'll just tell you the story. I saved up for a while to get my first Big Green Egg, and when I bought it, the salesman told me not to work the gasket too hard for the first few cooks, okay? And so I was supposed to keep it under 350 degrees or 400 degrees or whatever it was. He's like, for 10 cooks, you need to keep the temps down so that the gasket can seat properly, I think is the word he said. So I did it because I wanted to take care of my grill, and the gasket fell off anyways. And I went back, and this was about the point in time where, because he gave me a new one just like the one that fell off on under warranty. And I went back and I asked him, hey, he asked me if I wanted a high heat gasket to go with it. And I was like, well, if you have a high heat gasket, why doesn't Big Green Egg just ship that on the grill? So I'm not in a situation where it's not just a matter of replacing the gasket or expense related to the gasket. It's a kind of a pain in the butt. You have to clean it off and use acetone and then go back and apply it and then give it time to reset. It's a pain. It's a pain for an expensive grill to have to do that in the first couple of cooks. And I was like, well, if they have a high heat gasket, why don't they just put it on the grill? And he's like, well, this is the rep. He's like, if they did that, then they couldn't sell you the upgrade. And then all of a sudden, I saw red, and I realized, oh, so that's how it is. Okay, they don't have to, so they're not going to. And then as if by magic, the first thing I heard about Kamado Joe was they had better gaskets. And they were working on an improved gasket. They're always working on improved gaskets. They all are. But the natural progression was to see one company that was sitting in its, on its Eiffel Tower, or what's the word? Whatever. They're sitting in their position of control and milking it. And then you see another upstart that's like, hey, I see a problem. I'm going to fix it. And I'm going to give the customer a better experience. So that's the reason why my second choice is the Kamado Joe. Like, I feel like they take everything that's awesome about ceramic grills, and specifically in the Big Green Egg, the temperature stability, the whole experience of feeling that ceramic grills feel substantial. Like, they feel like a very high quality item, like a nice piece of furniture. When you look at them, first time you see them, they're impressive. They really are impressive. And you take that, and then I noticed they did some other things, like they powder coated their top vent. They eventually came out with the divide and conquer cooking rack, which is awesome. Like, because it gave you a chance to split the firebox. And that's what I was used to coming from a Weber kettle. I really liked having two-zone cooking. Well, in the meantime, again, this happened previous, but I was looking for a way to split the firebox in the Big Green Egg, and I found some aftermarket parts, and I thought, oh, that's great, I can use that. And the Big Green Egg's response to that was just to say, if you used aftermarket parts, you lose your warranty. Like, I don't know how they would know that, but I found it really irritating after my experience with the gasket to see that instead of providing something new and evolving and protecting their position at the top of the heap, they were just going to prohibit other people from making their product better. So that, in a nutshell, I still think they're great grills. I just think that they're, you know, having to be pushed. Like, now they have high heat gaskets, and now they've gone from these porcelain coating grates that would flake off to stainless steel. But a lot of that was just the bare minimum of being pushed by people like Primo and people like Kamado Joe, who are more agile, you know. And I think, honestly, even though Big Green Egg is probably still much bigger, I think if something doesn't change quick, they're going to be having a back seat to Kamado Joe in the ceramic market pretty darn quick. You just can't charge a premium and not evolve when somebody else right next to you is nipping at your heels and willing to give customers anything they ask for. Now, I'll say this: sometimes I do think that Kamado Joe moves a little too fast. Like, I think they see something, they go after it, and then it maybe the product or the innovation that they're making isn't fully developed or tested yet. But the thing is that's okay, because they're just going to keep working on it, you know. And it's just that mindset of, we're constantly evolving, we're constantly getting better, we're listening to our customers. That's the main reason why I would recommend the Kamado Joe over the Big Green Egg. Not because I don't like the Big Green Egg product, but I like that ethos, that mentality of, hey, we're gonna keep improving until we get this right. Now, not shocking, my number one recommendation, if you could only have one grill, is the Weber Summit charcoal grill in, is it right there? Yeah, I can't see I have a reflection, so in the actual cart. And the reason is, what I love about the Weber Summit charcoal grill is they managed to encapsulate everything that's awesome about ceramic grills from a cooking experience. Okay, so they have an air gap of insulation in between, and it's the perfect amount to simulate about the amount of insulation you get from a Big Green Egg. So when you lift the lid, because it's the same size, sorry about the noise, but because it's the same size and because it's the same shape, when you lift the lid up, you get and you start cooking on it, it feels very, very similar to cooking on one of those other ceramic Kamados. In addition to that, it's got everything that ceramics will do, and it fixes a lot of the problems that ceramics have. So ceramic is great for holding temps, right? Sorry, I gotta get a drink here. Ceramic is great for holding temps, but its downside is it's fragile and it's heavy. And even companies like Kamado Joe, who right there, Kamado Joe, who have done a great job with mitigating those problems. Like they made an awesome hinge, right? Well, metal is light enough that I mean, it still has an awesome hinge, but it doesn't need a heavy duty. It's not trying to overcome weight. Like the firebox. Kamado Joe has an awesome firebox that will last forever. Why is there a firebox? Like, think about this. Like, not only, okay, fireboxes, all of them will eventually crack, except maybe for this one because it's awesome. Yeah. But you ever think about why ceramics have a firebox to begin with? I mean, we think about whether or not they crack and how to prevent them from cracking. But the whole reason we have fireboxes to begin with is because the ceramic needs to be protected. And with a metal Kamado like the Summit, that's just not necessary. Like you don't have to worry about it cracking, so you don't need a world-class firebox because you don't need a firebox. And that's a lot of what I really like about the Summit is they managed to do more with less, because the products the material they're using is better suited for what they're doing. So other things like the mobility is off the charts. Like my little kid can move the Weber Summit charcoal grill, and because even the design of the wheels, like because it's got one set of swivel wheels and one set of straight wheels, it's easier for one person to move because it goes directly where you want it, on top of it not being heavy. And the death of ceramic grills is accidents. I mean, because it is fragile, the way they die, because almost all of them have lifetime warranties but that's only on the ceramic parts, and that's only if they just crack for no reason. Okay, so if you crack it, then you're on your own. So what ends up happening is eventually the movers take out your grill, something falls on it, or something crazy like, well, no, this is not so crazy. It happens every year. You see pictures on forums. The hinges need to be tightened periodically, and the reason that they need to be tightened periodically is because they come loose. And what will happen is at the beginning of the grilling season, for those of y'all that have grilling seasons, no offense, you lift the lid the first time, or you fire up the grill the first time, and you raise the lid, and the lid just falls off the back, and that's not covered under your warranty, because that was your fault. You didn't tighten your bolts. That's part of your maintenance plan that you agreed to. That stuff happens, and so with the metal Kamado, not only do you not have to worry about the hinge, the lid falling off because it's bolted, because it's not ceramic, they can just bolt it on there. But even if it did fall off, you'd pick it up, dust it off, maybe you scratch the porcelain, you repaint that spot, and then you move on and, live another day. So that's the type of thing that I really enjoy about the Summit, and one of the reasons why I recommend it, as if you could only have one and you have the money. The other thing is it's extremely well thought out. They were able to do a lot more with a lot less. So as far as splitting the firebox, it's just so smart. Like, you can buy aftermarket parts for Big Green Egg, which will still void your warranty, or you could buy, the Divide and Conquer is freaking awesome on the Kamado Joe. I hope I pointed at the right spot. I wasn't looking at the screen. What Weber did is they just designed the lower charcoal grate to go up and down. So instead of having the charcoal grate, 10 inches from the grill, it becomes 5 inches from the grill. And then the grill behaves like a large kettle, where, that's where, you put the coals on one side and you cook on the other. And that's why we do 2-zone cooking, is because Kettle's invented it. And so to be able to replicate the Kettle 2-zone experience, the big thing, without any other parts, like there's nothing else to store. Like if you want to cook raised direct, you just lower it back down. You don't have to bring in an extender or put grates on fire bricks to get some space between. Like chicken's one of those things that cooks really good raised direct. You don't have to worry about that with the Summit, and you don't have to store any other parts when you're not done. The the heat deflector on the bottom is I'm sorry, there's a fly on my lens. It's so smart the way they built it. It's like they went straight to some of the Big Green Egg guys and said, hey, what would make your heat deflector better? It's mostly it's metal, so it has an air gap. So if you want to use drippings, if you want to collect drippings, they're less likely to burn. If you lean it up against something, it's less likely to, if it falls over, it won't crack. It's hinged, so you can add fuel during a cook if you need to. You probably don't need to, but it's good that it's there. And mostly there's just a place to put it. Like what usually happens to Big Green Egg heat deflectors, they used to call them plate setters. That's what's in my mind, but I know that's not what they're called anymore, but the new name, I can't remember what it is. You pull it out, you set it up against a wall or something, and then somebody knocks it over and it cracked. And you can JB, by the way, you can JB weld those back together if that ever happens to you. But the point is it's just having a place to put it and having it made of a material that's not fragile, especially when it's the one that's taking the beating of all that heat, is just a really nice touch. And if you go around the whole kettle, the whole experience has got a certain, the Summit, the whole experience has a certain simplicity and elegance to it, because there are fewer parts on it, and the parts that are there do the job so simply. So now that doesn't mean it's the perfect grill. In fact, I think that it's really important to point out that Weber's made a choice with this grill. I'm of the opinion that if they marked the grill down, if they marked this grill with the cart down to the same price as whatever the Big Green Egg is going for at the time, since it's sort of the category, standard, over time the Weber would take over. It wouldn't take long before people realize, like, hey, this is awesome to cook on. It's got a good reputation. It comes from a good company as well. People would start to see, do I prefer the ceramic, or do I prefer the benefits of metal? There's not like a whole lot of benefits of ceramic, since the Weber holds heat so well. Since it holds, there have been other metal Kamados that have come along, and one of the things, they've missed for various reasons. Like the Akorn is an awesome grill with a lot of features, but it's also only gonna last about 3 to 5 years, and that's if you take care of it, and it's too efficient. They put oven grade insulation in it, which made it too efficient, which makes it a little bit hard to hold temps and hard to maintain low and slow fires sometimes. So your wood will smolder on occasion instead of burning. And the big steel kegs, same deal. Better construction. Those things will last forever. They are awesome cookers. Better for grilling than for smoking, just from the standpoint of, because they are so efficient, they sort of overshot the point of being useful. For me, because I do mostly smoking, I actually enjoy, and maybe this is a personal preference, but I enjoy having a slightly bigger fire, even if it means I burn a little more charcoal, if I can hold temps better. So because of that insulation, and because of the inability, don't get mad at me. I know some of you guys are screaming at your computer right now, but because it's harder to maintain those lower temps, it's harder to maintain low temps in the cooker. All in all, I feel like I talked around that a little bit. The other thing is those other two cookers, the Akorn and the big steel keg, the big mistake they made is they should have made it bigger. And you can fit briskets in smaller cookers. You can lay them over something, but it would just have been nice to have a bigger, all around bigger size like Weber went with. Now, what I was gonna say was, I think that if Weber priced it the same as the Big Green Egg, they would take over the market. I don't think they're going to take over the market, and I think that's great for competition. I think it's great for Kamado Joe and Big Green Egg, because Weber has decided, and this is something to factor in, they don't want to sell a ton of these. I don't know what their reasoning is, but they've done a few things to handicap their sales. Part of it is just aesthetics. This is how you know I'm not a complete fanboy. If you walk up to that grill, it looks like a grill. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing wowing about it either. You're not gonna, when people walk up to my Kamado Joe, they go, wow, that's awesome. You lift the lid and you're like, oh wow, that feels cool, there's a presence about it, whereas this looks like a grill. It doesn't, you have to kind of own it and use it to appreciate what makes it stand out from other grills in the category. And you probably have to own those other grills as well to appreciate how it stands out in the category. The other thing is they've made some aesthetic choices that are very confusing. They use plastic wheels when they should. One side of the wheels are metal, one side are plastic. Now, they work fine, and they've lasted fine, and they look as good or bad as they did when I got it. So it does the job. Functionally, it does the job. But just some of those choices. Again, also, I don't know if you can see it, but if you take a look, the lower ash assembly is connected via fake leg sockets that they adapted from the cheaper Kettles. Like they didn't find another way to attach that lower vent from the way they do it with the Kettles. So they just stuck fake leg sockets on there and you attach it to that just like you do it. I find that ridiculous. I find that like just lazy and irritating. But the thing is that whole lower ash assembly is awesome. Like, other than the aesthetics, like what it does, the way it maintains temps, the way it allows you to sweep out the ash without with one like little hand, sliding gesture, and then dump the ash out. It's an incredibly good design that just looks like it has leg sockets that you're not using on it. And I don't get that, but I think that's Weber's way of saying like, hey, we're gonna go for a category, and we're gonna have a little piece of it, but we're not going to take over because it's not worth it to us to spend a little bit more money developing leg sockets. Also the price. I mean, they could price it. I've said this all along. I wish it was $1,500 for this grill and either $1,000 or $1,200 for the one without the cart. And I think that by charging what they charge, they've made it clear that they feel like they're going to get enough sales and they don't really want any more. So that's good. That means we'll always as consumers, we'll always have options. So I like that, and that's cool. That said, if I could only have one, because of the reasons I described before, like I just feel like the Summit has everything that I'm looking for, and in a ceramic, and a lot of the stuff that bugs me about the ceramics are not an issue with this. If you buy Big Green Egg based on this, I will be happy. If you buy Kamado Joe based on this, I'm good for you. Like I think you'll be happy with any of those. Like I think they're all great grills, and I think, and this is the other thing, this is what I wanted to talk about. I think when it comes to making this choice, especially if you're sitting here with analysis paralysis, don't buy anything based on what I tell you. Take the information and factor it through your own prism of what's important to you as a consumer. And then honestly, I think the best thing you can do is go with your gut. Because if you've always wanted a Big Green Egg, or if you've always wanted a Primo, or if you've always wanted a Kamado, or any of those other grills, and then you buy the Weber Summit Charcoal Grill, which I've just told you is the best one I've used, if a little bit overpriced, you will never be happy. Like it will never, like in your mind, you'll always be like, man, I just wish I would have, I wish I would have gotten what I'd wanted all along. I think you should do that. I really do think you should do that. The other thing, if you're just really stuck, and I say this as a joke, but it's really kind of practical. If you are down to 2 or 3 options and you can't decide what to buy, because I know from my demographics that I'm talking to a male. Most likely, if you're watching this, you are a male, 25 to 56 years of age, which means, real talk, if you're down to 2 or 3 options that you like and you can't make a decision, honestly, take it to your wife and ask her which one she thinks looks best and wants to look at for the next 30 years. Because that is as good a reason as any to buy a grill once you get to these things that are so close and so comparable. So ask her what she thinks. If she feels strongly about it, that's a good reason to get a Big Green Egg or get a Kamado Joe or get the Summit, and just go with that. So those are my thoughts. Like I said, I know there's another thing to think about. I know that the Summit is expensive, but it does have a table. It is more stable. It does have storage. Like those things are helpful. And if you're thinking, well, you can get a Big Green Egg with a table, yeah, you can. But then the Big Green Egg goes from being the cheapest option to the most expensive option by a long shot. So it's like there's kind of a value proposition, and I think that's what Weber's banking on. They know that if you were to get a Kamado Joe or any of the other brands and put it in a table, you're going to be well over their $2,000 price point. So that's why they feel like they're right where they should be. Excuse me, they're right where they should be. So anyways, oh my gosh, it looks like this got really long. I just wanted to pass this information on to you. I've done videos like this before. I'll link to one where it's a little bit more concise. But for now, like, you know, I just wanted to approach it from the standpoint of what do I think is the best grill for most people. And like I said, back to the beginning, I think for most people, like most people, the Weber 26-inch kettle is worth reaching for with the Slow N Sear. And I'll put a link to this stuff in below. Again, I would love for you to use my affiliate links. I don't mention them quite a bit on this channel because really my goal is not to make a lot of money. But what I find is people approach me all the time and they're like, hey, your information was so helpful in me making the decision. I wish I could somehow give you credit. And I'm like, well, I'm not really doing this for money, but if you're willing to, you know, if all you have to do is hit my links, then you know, I get credit for it. I'll take it. If that makes sense. So this is this. If you have any other, I mean, this is, you know, first try at this format. If you have any other follow-up questions, let me know in the comments or shoot me an email, or hit me up on Facebook. That's probably the best way to get, at least right now, to get my attention. And maybe we'll do this in the future. If not, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you got all the information that you need. And I guess that's it. Please subscribe, because I'm going to do more videos. I have so many ideas, and I wanted to get, there's so much I wanted to share about this. I wanted to go ahead and get this out. And I was afraid, because I've been working, this has been on my list for a while, and I was afraid if I didn't just go ahead and do it, I wouldn't end up doing it. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Actually, by the time you see this, it may be the middle of the week, but we'll talk to you then, and we'll see you next time. Bye.